Hey, this is Joe from Home Studio Corner. Do you ever sit down to record and find yourself coming up empty on ideas? Do you feel the creativity drain out of your body whenever that red recording light goes on? Yeah, I've been there. And in this video, I want to help you by giving you some tips to help you get over that hump. I recently got one of these bad boys. This is a looper pedal from Boss. I had a looper pedal years ago, and I've gone through phases of almost pulling the trigger on getting one and then backing out. But I finally did, and I'm glad that I did. It's been a lot of fun, and I've gone completely off the deep end in discovering all these looping artists, and it's just bonkers and really fun. But here's what I want to tell you is this looper has kind of opened my mind to what makes for a good production. Now, I'm not saying that you and I need to become looping artists. Nothing against looping artists. It's incredible. Even if you think you don't want to do loop-based production, using a looper, practicing production on a looper pedal will make you better. Let me talk about it. Today, I've got 3 production tips for you, but before we dive into those, let's have a little fun and I'll show you what not to do before we talk about what to do. So here is an example of how to make a loop boring. Now, there's nothing technically wrong with that loop. It's not bad. And, a nice guitar and being able to play and get good tones, that all adds up. But it's just a lot of the same thing over and over. You get the sense that you're listening to something repeat itself versus getting the sense that you're experiencing something musical. Whether we realize it or not, repetition is everywhere in music. That's what makes it attractive to us, because there's always this revolving beat that comes around on the one. For the most part, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we know no matter what else happens, we're going to come back to that one. And then typically we like for songs to repeat themselves. Most songs have a chorus that repeats itself 2 or 3 times throughout the song. We like the repetition, but we don't like boring. And that's what I want to focus on today, is how to make your loops, ergo your productions, less boring. And the name of the game here is a production principle I'd call variations. In other words, change things up. The loop I just played, the wrong way to loop, while it had a few different parts, it was basically the same thing. The same rhythm, and kind of the same tone over and over. You listen back and you couldn't really tell. I don't know how many loops were there. Let's say there were 10 layers, like 10 tracks of audio on top. You probably couldn't quite tell, because for the most part, they were all kind of playing the same thing. The things we added didn't really amount to much. The final loop was a lot like the very first loop that we recorded, okay? The reason for that is we did not add any real variations to the song. So the same is true for producing a big song where everybody's playing the same chord progression and the same rhythm from start to finish, and there's no variation there. That gets boring. So let's talk about the different types of variation that will help your music become a lot more interesting. The first is tonal variations. I grew up singing in choirs all the way through college. soprano, alto, tenor, bass. A choir typically is better when you have all those parts versus when there's just tenors. Us poor tenors. Or think about going to an orchestra and then it's only cellos. I love cello, but if I'm going to hear an orchestra, I want to hear the violins and the violas and the woodwinds and the double basses. I want to hear all those different ranges of tone because together they make something so beautiful. When it comes to producing, I want to have high cymbals, and I want to have low bass and kick drum, and I want to have mid-range, but not too much mid-range to where it takes over everything. When it comes to looping, it's similar, maybe not quite as involved, but the concept is still there. I don't want everything sitting there in that mid-range. I want to have low parts and high parts. I want there to be different variations in tone. And that can include harmonic variations, meaning maybe I play the same chord progression, but I play it way up in a different voicing, or I play it with a different instrument, or I sing something differently. Those are ideas of how we can make these tonal variations. Even if we're just using the same instrument, it's still possible, okay? The second type is rhythmic variations. Imagine a drummer who only plays quarter notes. That'd be pretty boring. There should be more than one rhythm in the song. Meaning, if the song goes ba 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 da 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 ba na 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 da na, every member of the band or every loop that you record shouldn't have that same rhythm. Boom ka boom ka boom ka, and the bass goes do 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 do, and then the piano goes bling 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 bling. It's everyone playing the exact same rhythm, and it's so common of a problem. I hear it all the time. I'm not mad about it. There's just a lot better options. What if we varied things up rhythmically? In other words, where are there spaces in the rhythm that we can fill? If you think about, if you've ever done any drum programming on a traditional drum machine where there's like 16 sections, so it's a 4-bar loop and you've got basically a button for each 16th note in the beat. And you can go through and let's do 4 on the floor kick drums and the snare on 2 and 4 and then the hi-hat on every 8th note. And then you can start to see, okay, where else can I plop in some beats? Where are there some spaces, literally some empty spaces in the beat where we can add something else? We don't want to fill every single empty space, or then it's just all 16th notes, and that's no better than when we started. But we do want to add in variations, meaning the drummer plays a different rhythm in different sections of the song, and every instrument isn't just hammering down that exact same rhythm. There are situations where, of course, that's wonderful, but a lot of times when I hear productions, they may do a lot of instruments, but if they're all playing the exact same rhythm, what's the point of all the instruments? They all kind of mush into one thing. Thing number 3, when in doubt, find a little melody. In other words, melodic variations. How can we take what's there, perhaps it's all just chord-based stuff, and add some melodies on top? We don't want something to interfere with the lead vocal, if there is one, but we also don't have to just play chords. We can play single notes. We can arrange those into melodies. Guess what? These things, they were designed to listen for melodies. We love melodies like we love a good story, so give me, as the listener, something to hum along to. I say that all the time. Make it hummable. Give me something that isn't just random notes in the scale, but is something that has some emotion behind it, has something interesting, has a hook to it that adds a little bit of melody here and there. And you can have more than one, by the way. Little melody here, little melody here, like a counterpoint sort of thing. Just find those spaces and fill them with something interesting. For the outro for this video, I'm going to take that initial loop that we recorded a minute ago, use that first loop, and build out the loop differently given the things that we've talked about today. Now, when I'm doing things, when I'm producing or making music, I'm not sitting there thinking, oh, I really could use some rhythmic variations, and then I would hopefully look for some tonal variations. It's not that nerdy. It's more organic. It's more natural. I listen to what's there, and then I listen to what's not there. So we've got acoustic guitar playing a certain rhythm with a certain voicing, with a certain tonality to it. What can I do to add to that? That doesn't mean I can't have anything else that sounds like that or has that same rhythm, but I don't want to pile everything onto that one spot. I want to spread the love around and come up with different tonal, rhythmic, and melodic and even harmonic variations that will enhance the track rather than just repeat what's already been there. After all, it is a loop, so there's a lot of repetition already happening. Let's not make the repetition more repetitious. Let's add in things that make you get kind of lost in the music. Now, this will probably end up being more ambient than maybe you're expecting, but doing something like that really helps me show you all the different variations on a very simple chord progression that we can do, and then imagine applying those principles across an entire production, an entire album, an entire body of work over your lifetime, and you can see how you're on the verge of creating something really beautiful. So, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Wish me luck.